With schools closing and events being canceled left and right, people are beginning to stock up on groceries in case they need to be home for an extended period. Tonight, LEX 18's Catherine Collins talked to shoppers at the Bryan Station Kroger about what they're stocking up on and what's already sold out.
The pictures are all over social media, empty store shelves, and apparent toilet paper shortage as shoppers try to stock up in the face of coronavirus. Some find it to be an overreaction.
I guess they think it's the zombie apocalypse. I don't see how toilet paper is that big of a necessity right now.
But despite that, Lexington High School student Nicole Herman says she was caught up in the rush to stock up.
We saw everyone else was shopping, and even though we're not concerned about running out of everything, we knew that we have to go get it because once we do decide to go, it's all going to be gone.
But for others, the unknowns surrounding COVID-19 are enough to warrant the shopping trip.
I thought maybe I better stock up on a few extra groceries because of everything shutting down, and it looked like the aisles were getting bare. So I think I made a wise decision.
Robbie Southwood says he looked for food that will last him a while.
I don't have a great big refrigerator anyway, and I'm a single guy, so I just tried to get some canned stuff and stuff that wouldn't go bad.
Both Herman and Southwood say the news around coronavirus is concerning, and they're hoping everyone will stay safe. In Lexington, Catherine Collins, LEX 18 News.
Keeneland is canceling its April sales and will run some races without spectators. The spring meet opens April 2nd and will be run at least through April 15th with no fans in the stands. The meet closes April 24th. Meanwhile, officials at Churchill Downs say they're moving forward with the Kentucky Derby, but a final decision about postponing the first jewel of the Triple Crown will be made closer to race day. College basketball's Power 5 conferences all canceled their league tournaments, a huge blow to regular season SEC champ Kentucky and the legion of True Blue fans with tickets to the tournament games in Nashville. Keith Farmer is here with more about that and some of the other sports casualties that have given new meaning to the time of year known as March Madness.
Yeah, of course, Kevin, it was the NBA last night that got the ball rolling on all the cancellations when a player tested positive for the coronavirus. After the pros ended their season, it was only a matter of time before the amateurs were forced to do the same, especially the more information they learned. The biggest of which is a little surreal, but there won't be an NCAA tournament for both the men and women. The last time that happened was 1938. They even crowned a champ throughout World War II. Before that, the SEC canceled its tournament this morning along with 18 other leagues. It was a decision that was not taken lightly, but it doesn't make it easy for all those involved.
I'm not an epidemiologist. I'm not a researcher in immunology or infectious disease, but those who are engaged at the NCAA level provided some stark information yesterday that guided the NCAA to close its tournament to public attendance. That then guided us.
Dealing with all this stuff, dealing with the good too, but also dealing with the bad is part of life, and they're learning, but I just wish it was let's give them another lesson and not that one.
Yeah.
But it is what it is now.
Well, the NCAA also canceled all winter and spring championships, and the SEC suspended the regular season competition for teams in all sports on SEC campuses. Kevin, back to you.
Well, Keith, as you know, there were no big crowds, no cheers or buzzer beaters at Rupp Arena this afternoon. Instead, it was an eerie silence after the KHSAA suspended the remaining games of the Sweet 16 tournaments indefinitely. At first, KHSAA Commissioner Julian Tackett announced they were going to continue the tournament, but fans would be limited. There would be no general admission tickets sold, and each player would only be allowed 4 family members to attend. Band and cheerleaders wouldn't be allowed in, and only credentialed media were exempt. But as the first game was ending this morning, plans quickly changed to suspending the entire tournament for both boys and girls, and fans say that's devastating news for the players.
Bad for them. I mean, I got to play in the state tournament my senior year, and you know, you've worked your entire life for it, and then, you know, right here at the end, it's kind of taken away. So I do feel really, really bad for them, like you said, especially the seniors that don't have another chance.
Despite saying the games have been, quote, suspended indefinitely, the commissioner told us they have no plans to continue the tournament. During a news conference at City Hall this afternoon, Lexington Mayor Linda Gorton recommended that all public events and large gatherings be postponed or canceled. Lexington Fayette County Health Commissioner Craig Humbaugh says the decision was made to protect the people who are at most risk.
We understand that seniors and those who with chronic illnesses are at highest risk for severe illness from this disease, and we know there are a lot of folks in that category here in Lexington, and we felt that we should try to protect those folks as much as possible.
Mayor Gorton also stressed this is a rapidly changing situation. They're taking action based on the information they have right now, and further recommendations could follow. Meanwhile, the Cynthiana doctor we talked to earlier this week who quarantined himself after treating a patient with coronavirus says he's doing just fine. Dr. Stephen Moses says he's on his 6th day of what he calls self-isolation. He takes his temperature twice a day, and so far, he says he's in great shape and he's been hanging out in his basement. Some local elementary schools have sent him Facebook videos to keep their favorite quarantined doc smiling, and he's returned the gesture with a video of his own. Dr. Moses has been taking to Facebook to reassure patients and the community that so far he's stayed healthy.
I am not showing any signs of any infection, and I continue to monitor my temperature twice a day.
As for the patient he treated who tested positive for COVID-19, he says she's holding her own and is expected to be okay. Count on getting the latest about the coronavirus outbreak on air and online. And tomorrow night, please join us for a 1-hour special, Coronavirus in Kentucky, from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on LEX 18. Stay with us. Bill's up next on a night many of you have weathered some heavy spring storms. A little noisy out there earlier this evening, and a lot of heavy rain here on the north side. You couldn't even see across the street for a while. How about the rest of the Commonwealth?
Heavy rain really has been the calling card. We were expecting a lot more in the way of severe storms. There have been a couple, but not many. It's really been the heavy rain has been the primary mode of stuff tonight. Let's talk about all this. First off, on the Max Track Live Doppler, and we're seeing it highlighted there with the red. That's the tornado watch. We'll look at that a little more detail in a second. Let's talk about the rain. Right now, the heaviest slug of rain is south of the Mountain Parkway and also exiting off of the east-southeast actually take about Highway 27 and then on off to the east. There are no warnings in place at this point, so we've gotten rid of those. We had the last tornado warning, which went across the far southern part of Whitley County, well south of Williamsburg. That expired at 11 o'clock, expired a little bit before then. But there are still pockets of heavy rain situated west of I-75 there in Laurel County. Most of Knox County, it's raining hard. You get up into Lee and Breathitt County, there is hard rain falling there as well. And then spottier showers, maybe some thunder still mixed in. This is coming down at a pretty good pace going through the southwest corner of Lexington, going out Harrodsburg Road, going out toward the airport as well along Manowar. Northern part of Jessamine County, there around Brannan, back toward just about Keene. Then you get into Mercer County. There are a couple of storms there, both north and south. Anderson County, same thing. Franklin County, you're looking at those storms as well. So these are heavy rain producers, a little lightning and thunder, and that's about it. The tornado watch, that is until 1 o'clock, and a little surprised that the northern flank hasn't been pulled. What you're also looking at here, these are the damage reports, and there are not many. There was one came out of Whitley City. There was one small hail report out of Monticello, and then you got some heavy rain there in Russell County. You get back into Washington and Marion counties, there's some heavy rain. And that's been it. Even though we've had the tornado warnings, nothing, at least that we've seen so far, has come from those. The rain, though, has been heavy. From the Kentucky Mesonet, kymesonet.org, a lot of folks inch and a half of water, and it came down hard. Liberty, 1.7 inches. Somerset, 1.2. You got an inch and change there in Richmond. Lexington south side was 7/10, a little heavier on the north side. But Cynthiana came in an inch of rain. You get off to the northeast, that's where you're in fractions of an inch with the amount of rain. Flood watch continues, and that goes into the early morning hours. Roughly Highway 52 and north, although there were some heavy rainfall amounts that also came in out of the south and southwest. There's some flooding in and around Campbellsville with the storms earlier as well. So that's your flood watch for the balance of tonight. The storms that are in that flood watch are going to be spottier, but still can have some pretty decent downpours. Short term, the severe threat is winding down. We'll watch that over the next hour or two. Tomorrow is actually not a bad day. It's not a great one, not a bad one either. Saturday is the ickier side of spring. We're talking a day with clouds and cold temperatures. Could be a renegade snowflake somewhere nearby. Next week there is more warmth and more storms setting up for us. So here we go. Warm front came north today. It got a little more humid as we got into the afternoon. That's where the storms fired up. They were a little more robust out to the west. Then everything started turning southeast with time. Now, the cold front is still sitting back here to the west. That's why we still see thunderstorms popping up and why there is at least still a minimal severe weather risk. So from midnight, still the southerly winds, and it's been gusty out there this evening. By the time we get to 3 in the morning, the front's crossing the area, taking the thunderstorms along with it. Then the high pressure built in. It's a cold high. But this wave down here to the south begins to come north on Saturday. As it does so, look at that. There's rain, and it'll end up being a pretty cold rain at that for us on Saturday. And the snow, again, is not all that far away. We're still sitting in the 60s here at 11 o'clock. Right now at the Bluegrass Airport, it's 61 with a south wind 14 gusting to 24, just under an inch of rain. So there is a tornado watch until 1 o'clock, and that is for south of 64, west of 75. Thunderstorms ending, but still locally heavy rains possible. Be eventually in the upper 40s. Upper 50s tomorrow. There's a small shower chance early in the day, and sunshine returns. It's a breezy day. It's a cold rain on Saturday. That ends for us on Sunday, and we do warm up with some storms next week. More LAX 18 news after this.
Your world on LAX 18 News at 11. The new center of the coronavirus storm is in Europe, where countries are taking dramatic new measures to contain it. NBC's Richard Engel has our report.
The CDC tonight says Europe is the new epicenter of the epidemic, with 70% of new cases originating here. And countries are falling like dominoes, one shutting down after another. Ireland reporting its first coronavirus death, now closing schools. The Irish Prime Minister today with President Trump.
We need to do this for a couple of weeks to make sure the virus doesn't spread.
In Italy, the death toll rising over 1,000. Officials already banning most public gatherings and ordering a 3 feet separation in public. NBC's Matt Bradley is there.
Every shop and business in this country shut down, including iconic Italian brands like Gucci. Only grocery stores and pharmacies are allowed to stay open.
Shaking fewer hands. Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announcing he will self-isolate after his wife got flu symptoms after a trip to the UK. And in Germany, Americans are struggling to get home.
I feel like there's a lot of panic and I don't really know.
The one place that seems to have passed through the worst of the virus is China, where it first broke out in December. The last patients were discharged from hospitals China crash-built. China used the full force of its one-party state to contain this virus, including locking down Wuhan, a city of 11 million people.
It did work, but it was extremely draconian, and I just don't know that we need to be quite that aggressive.
And how long the peak outbreak